USC of all teams teaches Michigan a lesson in Big Ten muscle. And are the officials just out for Hugh Freeze this year? Is this just me, or do they have it in for old Hugh Freeze? Welcome into the Voice of College Football. This is our late night show following all the big games on Saturday night. Lock it in, pull up, get comfortable. Leave your comments and questions there in the chat. Super chats are appreciated, and I have no idea what that thing is there and why it's popping up, because we got a StreamYard application here, and the network has just grown too big, and we've got like 82 people doing stuff in here all the time, and they do stupid things like this, and I have no idea what that is or how to get rid of it. Regardless, we got college football, and that's what's important, and we will run through the scores and obviously take your calls and be here for as long as you would like us to be here. So that is entirely up to you. All right, to the scoreboard. Important game in the Big 12. Arizona leads BYU 24-14 with just 8 minutes left in the game. Boise State with a slim lead against New Mexico 17-14. That game's in the third quarter as well. Halftime at Utah, of course, Sam Leavitt did not play, and Jeff Sims, the starting quarterback for Arizona State, obviously not getting the job done. Utes lead at 21-3 at halftime. Nevada getting punished at home against San Diego State. The Aztecs looking to move on to 5-1. I think they're in pretty good shape to do that. 35-0 at halftime. Utah and Hawaii, of course, the final game of the night over across the pond. Now we've got finals. Troy over Texas State in overtime, 48-41. Number one, Ohio State defeats Illinois 34-16, or at least number one according to some. Maybe this team should be number one. Indiana goes to Autzen Stadium, wins 30-20 over the Ducks. Ole Miss, in a struggle, defeats Washington State as a 32-point favorite, 24-21. Texas A&M gets by Florida 34-17. We've got Texas over Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry, 23-6. Bama on top of Mizzou. Good football game there, 27-24. Texas Tech over Kansas, 42-17. Georgia defeats Auburn 20-10. We'll have much to say about that game. LSU, the same score over South Carolina. Tennessee holds off Arkansas and Bobby Petrino's second debut at Arkansas, 34-31. Georgia Tech, too much for Virginia Tech, 35-20. In the aforementioned Big Ten game at the Coliseum, USC too much for Michigan, 31-13. Notre Dame trounces NC State, 36-7. Colorado over Iowa State, 24-17. Pitt wins over Florida State. I saw a note on this game where Pitt has defeated Florida State for the first time since Florida State was a ranked team, since Dan Marino did it and company in 1981 with Jackie Sherrill on the sideline. Look at UCLA. What has happened in Westwood? They come east, coming off that upset shocker over Penn State, and trouts Michigan State by 25 points. SMU over Stanford, 34-10. Cincinnati over UCF, 20-11. And the Bearcats are now 3-0 in the Big 12. We've got Houston 39, Oklahoma State 17. James Madison defeats Louisiana 24-14. Final score, Army 24, Charlotte 7. Miami of Ohio over Akron 20-7. It's Bowling Green over Toledo 28-23. Eastern Michigan tops Northern Illinois in the MAC 16-10. Kent State too much for UMass 42-6. If you're losing to the Golden Flashes by 36 points, there are problems. Talk about problems. Who saw this one coming? Maybe we should have. Maybe we should have seen this coming. So we were conjecturing last week as to whether the rails had come off at Penn State. The rails are officially off. Northwestern defeats Penn State 22-21. Unfortunately, Drew Aller out for the season. Nebraska comes back in the fourth quarter to defeat Maryland 34-31. Wake, too much for Oregon State 39-14. Kansas State pulls off a slim upset over TCU 41-28. Air Force and UNLV in a barn burner. Running Rebels and Dan Mullen win at 51-48. App State 41, Georgia State 20. Old Dominion goes to Marshall, gets trounced 48-24. You've got Western Michigan 42, Ball State nothing. Navy 32, Temple 31. Florida Atlantic defeats UAB 53-33. Iowa did not see this score, did not see any of this game. This is the first time I've seen this score. Was wondering what happened in this game. Wisconsin is an atrocious team. Maybe Luke Fickell has coached his last game in Madison, 37-0. Wyoming 35, San Jose State 28. Coastal Carolina defeated Louisiana Monroe 23-8. Minnesota comes back to defeat Purdue 27-20. Clemson trounces Boston College. That must be my word of the night. Trounces Boston College 41-10. Texas San Antonio on top of Rice 61-13. And the other scores from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we will keep our eyes on these games still in progress. And again, BYU needs 2 scores in the final 5 minutes. And they appear to be in the red zone against Arizona, trying to cut that lead to 3. On to the phone lines. Here we go. Michigan Man showing up for us. What's going on tonight?
Yeah, man, let me start with talking about future Michigan head football coach Kurt Cignetti. I'm just going to manifest that until it happens, you know. Indiana, man, that team's for real, Mark. That team is for real.
You're not kidding, they are.
And honestly, Mark, that game really should have been what was the final score? 30-20?
Yeah.
That game really was a 30-13 game. They, you know, that pick six, you know, kind of
those do count.
Tied that game up. It still counts, but here's what I'm trying to say. I guess I feel like Indiana was clearly the better team.
Yeah, I agree. I know what you're saying, but you know, Oregon put a pass rush in Mendoza's face to force him to throw a pick six. So they made a football play, the defense, to cause the turnover to score points. So we don't take those away. But I get you
for sure.
Yes, Indiana was better. Yes.
What's their remaining schedule, Indiana? Who do they got left?
I'll look it up here. They
play Penn State, don't they?
They've got Michigan State next week, UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, Wisconsin, at Purdue. Yeah,
they're in the Big Ten championship game. That might be the safest bet you could possibly make right now. They're in the Big Ten. What's the most losable game there? Maybe I can't even say Penn State right now. Penn State's bad.
Yeah, it doesn't appear like there is one, but of course we get surprised every week. But yeah, the way this team's playing, and the way Kurt Cignetti is coaching, you know, their toughest game might be UCLA.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be Ohio State versus Indiana at this point. Ohio State literally plays nobody the remainder of the season. I think they got the easiest remaining schedule, in my personal opinion, in terms of conference.
They got Penn State and Michigan, so we would have thought that was pretty tough before, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's not, especially Penn State. Is this you should do this? You should do a video on this. Top 10 most disappointing teams based on their preseason hype all time. That would be a good video because Penn State's got to be towards the top of that list.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted it on X tonight because I just couldn't stand it. I don't watch halftime shows because, you know, they're just showing you highlights that you can watch anywhere and just giving you nothing. But I did have the one of the halftime shows, and Booger McFarland came to this brilliant conclusion. He said, "This is one of the most disappointing seasons Penn State's had recently." That was his exact quote. Exact quote.
I wouldn't even put it in just Penn State. I would just say in college football history. They were literally.
It was a stupid comment, was what I was highlighting.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get where you're going with that. They were literally a lot of people's pick to at least compete for a natty before the season. They put James Franklin on preseason Coach of the Year watch list. They put you know what I'm saying? Like, and for them to start the season 3-3 and 2 of their losses be to the 2 bottom feeders of the Big Ten, I cannot think of it. I can't think of another time that this has honestly happened, Mark.
I can't either. In a different way, Florida State would compare last year because they went from preseason top 10 and a team that made the college football play. Well, that didn't make the college football playoff, but you know what I mean. 13-1 ACC champs to 2-10. So I don't think Penn State's going to finish 2-10. Maybe they will 3-9. But yeah, there were 3 teams that I kept seeing on every publication. These were the only 3 teams that I saw listed for anybody except for myself predicting to win a national championship, and that was Penn State, Clemson, and Texas. And they're all utter disappointments. Now, Texas's season's still alive, but the other 2 pretty much done, especially Penn State.
Well, yeah, Mark, even with the Florida State comparison, right? They didn't bring back literally everybody. They didn't upgrade at coaching positions. They weren't, they had it was pretty much a brand new roster. They brought in a quarterback who, honestly, if anyone knew anything about the quarterback they were bringing in, had some success. I believe he was at Oregon State, right? Had some success, but he really had issues in the pass game, always had issues passing the ball. So, I mean, that to me was like, yeah, they shouldn't have gone 2-10, but they weren't. I don't think they were ever competing for anything of consequence.
No, I agree.
This is just insane to me. And do you think are they kind of stuck with James Franklin though because of his buyout? Like, I don't know. At what point do they even consider buying him out?
Well, it's $54 million, so that's the issue. But as explained to me, it's spread out in such a way, or they have the ability to spread it out in such a way that it might be doable. Like, they can pay this out over the course of years.
Oh, is that because he signed, I believe it was a 10-year contract?
Yeah, like they've got to cough up a ton of money in these payments, as you can imagine. You can only slice it up so many times, but it's something around 7 or 8 million a year that they would have to come up with.
That's pretty much like paying.
Like his contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they would have to pay out his contract like he was still coaching there each year, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I thought Texas. Well, do you think John Mateer came back too early?
Well, it sure seems like it.
Because it looked like it to me. I mean, his hand. They showed the sideline. His hand was, I guess, ripped open, like his surgery, or his hand was.
Yeah, I was watching the game, but I didn't see that shot. But just knowing, thinking through mostly NFL history of times when I can remember quarterbacks that had maybe a busted thumb or something critical to the hand, broken bone in the hand, and they tried to come back early and they couldn't grip the ball right. You're just asking for trouble because you're going to have that, even if they can kind of nurse it, kind of bring it along and kind of alter their throwing motion slightly to be able to manage the passing game. At some point, they're going to try to rip a throw, or they're just going to lose control of that. Those fingers or whatever portion of the hands involved, and they're just going to lose control. And you're playing high-level athletes. You've got to be precise. And we saw 3 throws that were just way off the mark.
Yeah, and I couldn't even imagine. I mean, it must be hurting every time he's ripping that ball.
Yeah.
There was a point in the game, I'm not sure if you saw it, where I guess after a run, and this is what I was talking about, the announcers were talking about it, the incision, I guess, had ripped open where the surgery was, and it was leaking. So, and he still played. Wow. So my thing with that is, Mark, is like, I know you don't want to punt on football games, obviously, but at the same time, you bring someone back too early that really isn't ready, you could actually hurt your season even more. Because is he going to be able to play again? Because they have a lot of games coming up against ranked teams.
Tough games. Yeah, they've got a tough schedule. And the backup has played significant time. He played almost the entire season. About half the season last year, Michael Hawkins, and he started the week before. So, it's a huge downgrade. And I know it's Texas, but they lost the game anyway. So, yeah, I think they took a gamble that, hey, we're going to have a significantly higher percentage chance of winning this game with John Mateer, and maybe we've got a 75% chance of winning with him and a 30% chance of winning without him or something like that. So we really need to win this game and see how it goes. And maybe if we can maybe we would have seen something happen and they would have grabbed a 2-score lead, but that obviously never happened. And they get the loss. Plus he's got to be worse off. And so they took a shot.
Yeah, no, for sure. On to Ohio State. Ohio State, to me, really, to me, it's a 3-team race in the country now. I think everybody else in the country is extremely unimpressive, in my opinion, outside of these 3 teams. And it would be Ohio State, Indiana, and Miami. Do you agree with that?
I pretty much agree with you. I do. I think that those are the 3 teams that are playing the best. And obviously we know a little bit more about, we think we do, Ohio State, Miami, but Indiana, boy, if you look at what they accomplished last year, and they weren't nearly as good as they are this year, and then you look at their personal additions, like maybe I should have taken a shot at them being better, because our Indiana guys, I will credit them. They certainly were touting them as being much improved, and they really shored up their offensive line. Fernando Mendoza's better quarterback than Curtis Rourke. They are really good. Like if they didn't have Indiana, I don't know. And I made this comment last week that if they weren't Indiana, based on what they've put up this year, I don't know why Vegas would make them a 7 or 8 point underdog in that game against Oregon. But regardless, so those 3, I'm going with those 3. And I'm just going to say that let's not give up on Oregon.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess. Well, let me talk about Ohio State a little bit. To me, they look a lot like Michigan fans are going to hate when I say this. They remind me a lot of the 2023 Michigan team, except on offense. To me, it's like the inverse. I think that they methodically go down the field just in a different way.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? They methodically go down the but they do it through the pass game, not as much through the run game, whereas Michigan did it more through the run game and less through the pass game. And the defense is just absolutely dominant. Now, I did see one thing, and I think if there's any team that has a good chance of just beating them, I wouldn't even say good chance, has a better chance than other teams, I think it's Miami. Because one thing I did see today, even though the defense still played great, Ohio State's defense, is if you can stand in the pocket and throw NFL throws against them, you can have some success. Because a lot of the pressures and sacks to me from Ohio State this year, against Power 4 competition at least, comes from coverage sacks because their back 7 is just so good. So the quarterback could sit there, but he can't find an open guy, and the D line gets there eventually, or they're doing some type of exotic blitz. So I think Miami can have some success, and they have a good enough defense. But other than that, Ohio State has a great chance of going back-to-back. I'm not going to lie, man.
Yeah, they do. And when I see a game like they played against Illinois today, it's almost like, I don't want to say they went through the motions because that would be discrediting their competitive spirit. I know that obviously they're champions. They applied themselves, but it was almost like this methodical win that they pretty much were in control. And if they were faced with the kind of challenge Indiana and Oregon were today, there would have been a more intense effort on their part, but they seem to just kind of like handle business, take care of it. Very similar to when they went to Washington. They just kind of manage the game, get a couple score lead. They're fine, and they just do what they need to do. Yeah,
honestly, I think that's part of it, but I just honestly believe that the Ohio State offense this year, I think they can be explosive. I just don't think they're as explosive as other years.
No, they're not.
I think, I just think that they're more of a methodical. Now, obviously, if you play a defense like the Minnesota defense that's just not up to snuff and doesn't play the right kind of defense, you can get some explosives out of that. But when you play against teams that kind of like play that shell kind of coverage, they're not really able to get the explosives like 24, 21, and 22 were able to. And that's fine, though, because when you have a defense like they have and you can just methodically, surgically go down the field, kind of like I said, that's what 2023 Michigan did. It's going to be tough. And to me, that's a tougher team to beat, honestly. That's a much harder team to beat. So I just think that's the way it's headed. Now, the last thing I'll talk about is my garbage Michigan Wolverine team. Garbage. Mark, this is a poorly coached. I know I've said this every week almost. They're just such a poorly coached team, Mark. Michigan is just such a poorly coached team. Did you watch the game? I'm assuming you watched the game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let me start out with, now this is a weird place to start with the game, but we were never even, I don't think we were even competitive really in this game. But when they scored the touchdown, it was 24. They scored a touchdown. They make it 24-13. What is the logic for going for two there?
I don't know. I just posted a video before we came on live. I said the same thing. I have no idea.
Are you trying to make it harder? I just don't get it. Like you kick an extra point, you need a touchdown and a field goal. You go for two and you don't get it, you need two touchdowns.
I'm right there with you. I said the same thing. What are they doing? I don't know. I don't get the math. And also on the 2-point play, the play itself, I would think that maybe Bryce Underwood throws that pass great in practice. Maybe he throws it to the back pylon and it's where it needs to be. But I kind of doubt that. I would think that they would know what are the best plays for them to make and to put, if you're going to throw that fade, you've just got to have the right quarterback and receiver combination to throw that fade for it to be not more than just a hope that you're going to complete it. Like there are better plays to run as a 2-point play, unless Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that's throwing the football.
Yeah, they basically ran a very similar play to the touchdown play Julian Sain threw today to Jeremiah Smith on the one-on-one coverage. Yeah. The difference is the receiver is not Jeremiah Smith, and the quarterback, even though I think he's going to be great, it hasn't been consistently accurate like Julian is saying. Either way, it's just a bad decision to go for two. And then the defense, Mark. The defense this year, and I've been saying this since week 2, I think. I think I said this after week 1 against New Mexico. They do things that just aren't indicative of a good defense. They get exposed in the middle. They get exposed on the seams. They get consistently exposed in the screen game. I don't know how many times you can get cooked with tight end screens and just never adjust. I don't get it.
I was thinking the same thing, and it was pretty early in the game still, and I thought, man, USC is throwing a ton of screens, but they're all working, so they must just keep throwing them because they must have seen something that they really liked. I didn't know that USC was such a screen team, but obviously Lincoln Riley, I got to say, for all the criticism of Lincoln Riley since they joined the Big Ten, and he certainly has a few holes in his game, that the guy can scheme up an offense. He really can.
I'll tell you exactly the reason he did that. And I've been calling in and saying this on both the Michigan football channel, Voice Football channel, and this channel. I've been saying since week 1, since the New Mexico game, they don't adjust the screens. They don't. If you just spam the screen, the chances of you getting good yardage on a screen every time throughout the game is like 90% because Wink does not adjust to the screen game. He just doesn't do it. They were there at no point in that game did he adjust to the screen game. It was crazy.
Yeah, and especially against those athletes at USC, you don't want to have one of those guys on the perimeter with a football in his hand in space. That's just not a good place to be.
Yeah, and then the offense, Mark, to me, it's the main problem I have with the offense. It's like they don't know when they don't know. It's like they don't have a good feel of when to run and when to pass. It feels completely out of rhythm. That Michigan has been a good run team this year, but when it comes to playing these like bigger matchups, it's so out of sync. It's so out of sync, and it hurts when you don't have Justice Haynes. But I don't even think it would have mattered with Justice Haynes. They've just lost their identity.
The issue that I have with the Michigan passing game is when you got a quarterback who's got all the talent in the world, but you're bringing him along. He doesn't have the trajectory on the throws. He hasn't developed that yet. He's throwing fastballs out there. He is what he is, which is still the best guy that they've got by far. I've got no issue with him playing. And then you've got not the best receivers. You don't have guys that you're just going to chuck the ball up to and let them bring it down. It's like they don't develop any pass concepts. They don't have a passing tree where they scheme guys open. Like I never see them run like bunch formations where they clear out and allow somebody to cross the field, do those sorts of things to get guys open. It just seems like they're just hoping. They're just throwing the ball at guys that are just running pass routes, and none of the pass routes are connected. They're not part of an entire play. Everybody's just running a pass route, and he throws it to whoever he thinks is going to be open.
Yeah, it feels like there's no design to it. It feels like there's no design to get anybody open. Like you watch a lot of these things. You watch USC, right? Look at all the wide receiver motions they're doing. Look at all the funky bunch formations and wide receiver lineups and how you can see that they space when they're running their routes, they're spacing the secondary out. They're spreading them out in the route tree. When Michigan's running these plays, there's no trickery when it comes to what the wide receivers are doing. They're just lining up and they're just running routes, and a lot of times it feels like it's clogged up. It feels like they're all in the same area and nobody gets really open. It's very JV, Mark.
I hear you.
So yeah, I'll end it with this, man. We need to get rid of it. His buyout's only $4 million. I know we could afford that. If we keep Sharon Moore here, it's gonna get worse. The recruiting may be great. The recruiting may even get better, but the development and the coaching is not there. The situational timing is terrible. The sideline demeanor is terrible. Getting the team ready to play is terrible. I could just go down the list. It's sad to watch. And if Kurt Signetti's listening, I don't know if you at home you probably at home celebrating you win with your wife or something, maybe smoking a cigar, man. But if you happen to be listening, Kurt Signetti, come to Michigan, man. Come build a dynasty. We need you, man. All right, go blue, Mark.
Thanks, man. Always good to hear from Michigan, man. Always has some astute analysis of his maize and blue. And if Kurt Signetti's watching tonight, Coach Signetti, the StreamYard links in the chat. We would love to have you on. And I believe I can guarantee you that we will give you better questioning than when you hear on the sidelines from week to week. I can just about guarantee that. I heard some of the most inane comments made during studio shows this weekend. All right, before we move on to our next call, we certainly want to honor our buddy Adam, who has basically sponsored the show tonight. So he is guaranteed that we are here for at least 2 hours. Adam, thank you so much for the contribution. That is much appreciated, sir. Mark, the three true contenders right now are Ohio State, Miami, and can you believe it, Indiana. The dark horse is Alabama. Georgia has no class. They did win tonight, I believe, over Auburn. Yes, 20-10. The Ducks are fool's gold. And Penn State is the Jimmy Carter of college football. It's funny that you say that. I actually used Jimmy Carter in response to somebody's Facebook post this week. I think it's the first time I've thought about Jimmy Carter in about 10 years. But I wish Drew Aller is a speedy recovery and successful future. That is very classy of you. We know how you feel about Drew Aller. And it is kind of sad to see a young man's college football career come to an end like that. But like I've said many times, this is a different profession, meaning athletics. It is a different profession than other professions. You want to be a used car salesman, you want to be an insurance salesman, you want to work along the factory line, whatever. Mostly, even though there is competition out there, there is certainly competition against you. It's not directly in your face. So you basically have a pretty high level of control over your success in whatever profession you have chosen. Now, I may argue here on YouTube, but otherwise, you can control your level of success pretty much. You don't have somebody like I'm not trying to produce a YouTube live stream right now, and I'm not having somebody in here like turning the lights off and pulling my chair out from under me and turning off the power and disconnecting the internet or smashing my modem while I'm like in competitive athletics. Somebody's going to look bad. You can have the greatest performance out there on both sides. It could be a great game, and somebody's going to be dubbed a failure when they leave the field. You know, this is much different than going to the movies or watching a Netflix series where you're watching the 37th take of that particular scene, or it's been pieced together in 42 different ways to look good. Like, we're not seeing all the actors flub lines. It's all out there. The good and the bad and the ugly, and all of it's out there. And you, on top of that, are not just throwing footballs through the air against air to a receiver. There is somebody out there trying their damnedest to make you look bad, to thwart you, and to make you a failure. So it's different than any other profession out there from that standpoint. They are putting their reputations on the line. And they are putting their reputations and possibility of being deemed failures on the line every time they go out there. So, Adam, thank you so much for the contribution. Let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. We got Muley on the line. Muley, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So I'll start off with an interesting way of how I want to ask this. So I'll say this: we so far this season we've seen Indiana dominate Illinois and now take it down a very talented Oregon team. We've seen Ohio State dominate or pretty much control a good top 25 Illinois team, and we've seen how Miami's blown out several top 25 teams. They beat up on them, and also A&M has been controlling a lot of their games too.
Yep.
Who would you say is the top 5 at this point? And do you think Alabama has an argument for that?
So, are you wanting me to tell you who the top 5 teams are in the country in terms of their ability? The best 5 teams or the 5 best resumes?
Ability.
Okay. I believe, and I am not sure about this in any way. I'm not saying like as soon as I name a number 1 team, like they are the number 1 team and there's no question in my mind. No, this is not based on what I saw in Autzen Stadium today. This is certainly conflicted in my mind, but I believe that Ohio State's the best team in the country. And I believe that Miami's the second best team in the country. Indiana's number 3. And then I would say we've seen enough out of I would go with Texas A&M being number 4 and Oregon being number 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would rank them in terms of ability. And, not just talent, but what they've shown, what they've put together. The talent that they've put together and what they've produced on the field, that's what I would go with right now. And I get your point about Alabama because we have to knock them down because of their loss against Florida State. It's on their resume, but are they really the same team today than they were a month ago? It doesn't appear so. Although that win at Missouri, and Missouri's a good team. It's a difficult place to play. They had won, I think, 15 consecutive games there. That was not an overly impressive win against Missouri. They got the job done.
Well, I will say this for Bama is the way it played out, because at least I saw a lot of stuff online saying that matchup-wise, this would be a bad game for Bama because Bama struggled running the ball, whereas Missouri was, I think they were said to be statistically the best rushing defense in the country, right? Obviously, part of that was them playing the 109th strength of schedule so far, but that's besides the point. I think they proved that they still have a very talented front seven at times. However, when Bama was able to have a few drives where they were able to get the ball going and pick up their rushers. But what's interesting, Mark, is it kind of played out completely opposite. It was like, okay, well, if Bama is going to have to play, they're going to have to get it through the air. Yet Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard were held in check. It was actually Lottie Brooks and their tight end Cuevas that was the main ones. Like Ty Simpson didn't have like a eye-popping game throwing it. But if you watch the plays and see the coverage downfield, I don't know how, like, the top two receivers allowed that. I'd have to go back and watch. But there was a time when Missouri's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Muley. I'm just, yeah. I was not about to say anything. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that when Missouri's pass rush was really starting to pick up and was really dominating, especially the right side of Bama's offensive line going at Formby. There were still some plays where Simpson was, there were a couple plays where he got sacked on third down, but there were a couple times where he was able to get the ball out quickly and, check it down, read the blitz, be able to throw it in between, in coverage. I think basically what I'm trying to say is Simpson, even in a game like that, he still showed that he could still be effective despite at times some poor blocking, especially in pass pro from the Alabama offensive line.
Okay, I totally agree with that. So I posted on X while I'm watching Alabama, Mizzou, and Ohio State, Illinois, that I'm probably watching three of the best pocket passers in the game, in the sport right now. Three guys that want to stay in the pocket and deliver the ball downfield. Talking about Ty Simpson, Julian Sayin, and Luke Altmaier. And when Ty Simpson was not effective today, to me, it was the pass rush. I thought that the Missouri pass rush was pretty devastating at times. Like there were stretches of that game where he had no shot. He had no way to deliver the ball. He was under siege. And, it's difficult to watch these games on TV and see what's going on downfield. But Ryan Williams didn't have a touch in the game.
Right. And Bernard, I think until third quarter, only had one catch. The first half, he only had one catch for a few yards. It was ridiculous. And the thing is, Mark, on the fourth down, on that last fourth down conversion, Simpson really just stood up in the pocket and delivered a quick strike to convert it and keep the chain rolling. I think I saw a stat that said he completes 63% of his passes when pressured, which is one of the better. I don't know where he ranks in the country, but he still ranks pretty high on there. So even when in the second and third quarter when he just couldn't get anything going, he still has the poise to just keep on playing, and when he sees something, check it down.
Did you see the throw that he made to Brooks late in the game? It was like 3rd and 16, and he got flush from the pocket and ran left, and then he squared himself up, and he threw a dart
Yeah.
to the sideline. It was
Mhm.
beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, so there's still so many question marks for Bama because at the same time, I'm surprised by how they were able to contain Missouri's run game. Now, like Prbula and had a couple big runs, so their averages for Missouri were still decent. But if you look at it, it was mainly Prbula got like 2 big runs, and Hardy got a couple decent runs, but then was kind of played out of the game. LT Overton got a few, was getting to Prbula too, and just making it hard. And I think they kind of exposed and showed that Missouri's vertical game probably is going to keep them from contending in the SEC.
Yeah, they didn't. They did not throw the ball downfield, and apparently don't have the capabilities of doing so. Now, I can't think of how to pronounce the guy's name. He's an impressive player. I think he's a freshman, the freshman wide receiver. There he is, Donovan.
Aluk Bude, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, like those 3 catches he made near the end of the game were spectacular.
yes.
And he just kind of came out of nowhere because I haven't really been following Missouri's games. I watched the Kansas and South Carolina game, and they mainly been working through Kevin Coleman and I believe Marquise Johnson. Basically, they had 2 receivers, and Coleman was kept held in check in this game. As you can see, 1 reception for 2 yards. They also like to do jet sweeps with the wide receivers too, but the couple times they did, they couldn't get anything. So yeah, shout out to Bama, shout out to Bray Hubbard too, shout out to the linebackers stepping it up. Justin Jefferson has been playing great last couple of games, and yeah, man, there's so much I want to talk about, but I think I used up all my time here, so
I appreciate you, Muley. And speaking of Justin Jefferson, I think of a play that there was a 3rd and long, and they were able to get the ball out in the flat, and he made a great play. He came out of nowhere, made a tackle in space that forced a punt. Well, I think it preceded the fake punt where it came close to converting, but where Alabama stopped them on the fake punt.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, no, he's been great. All right. Well, thanks, Mark.
All right, Muley. Thanks for being here, man.
Right, thank you.
Folks, we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And speaking of Mizzou, and I'll catch up with these super chats, I appreciate those as well. Missouri seems to be in this place of purgatory. Now, because of their schedule and because they've now lost 1 game, and Alabama may go on to win the SEC championship. So this loss may actually turn out to be, to their credit, just losing a 3-point game and a very close game, really competitive game against Alabama. However, Mizzou, obviously 10-3 last year, 11-2 the year before. I think they've kind of settled into this place where they're not Penn State of the Big Ten because they don't have the history, the expectations. They're not a blue blood, nothing like that. You know, Eli Drinkwitz could go 9-3 and 8-4 for the next 12 years at Missouri, and they would give him extension after extension after extension, probably build a statue. So they're fine with what he's doing, more than fine with what he's doing. But I'm just saying they seem to be in this place where they need to, if they're going to win championships at some point, they need that marquee win. They need that landmark, that breakthrough win. They had the opportunity today, even though this is not a vintage Bama team. This is not a Saban Bama team. This is not the same program that Nick Saban handed to Kalen DeBoer, but it's in the realm. It's in that space. It's not the horror show and the downgrade that many people had forecasted or seen. This is still an excellent football program and still one of the top 5 to 8 football programs in the country. So Missouri's playing some good football, but again, they are not the upper echelon of the SEC until proven otherwise. All right, super chats coming in from David. David, thank you so much for that. That is much appreciated as well. Thank you for that. Mark, go Buckeyes. USC is elite speed, and that skill set goes a long way to forcing errors that change the complexion of the game. They are a roller coaster team, but they have the players to win games. I hate to lean on something I said a year and a half ago, because leading into the 2024 season, I called USC the, whatever my phrasing was, basically the biggest ceiling to floor, the biggest space between ceiling and floor team in America. And that proved out last year. They were good enough to beat LSU, good enough to beat Texas A&M, good enough to take Penn State to overtime, so basically play a tie game against Penn State. They were good enough to do all those things. They're also bad enough to lose to Maryland and blow leads in the fourth quarter against Washington and Minnesota and all sorts of teams. And we'll have to wait and see if they are that team again this year, because they've not blown these games. They've not played like that. I'm not going to say they blew the Illinois game. They just played a competitive game against a decent team on the road, and they lost the game. They didn't blow it. They did wear down in the fourth quarter, similar to what happened to them many times last year. So that looked similar. A traditional Big Ten team leaning on USC in the fourth quarter, but Michigan couldn't do that. USC was the more physical team tonight. It was astounding to watch. So, David, thank you so much for that. We've got B checking in. Indiana is elite. They are. I don't know that we've got a million data points to go to prove that, but the data points that we have, they're elite. They took a team that Ohio State now defeated by 18 points, and they beat them by 53 points. So that, to me, is a direct correlation. It doesn't mean that much, but it's still, they destroyed a team that Ohio State just kind of wore down and won comfortably, but not, that game got to 20-10 and was fairly competitive at some point in the second half, where Indiana just destroyed them. Now, they played them at home. Ohio State played them on the road. And then this Oregon game, like Michigan Man, our first caller said, there was a clear difference between those two teams. Indiana was the better team. Their pass rush dominated. Their front seven controlled the ground game. They gave up 13 offensive points to Oregon. They gave up 13 points. They gave up a long touchdown pass on the second drive of the game. Malik Benson caught a 45-yard touchdown bomb. And other than that, they gave up 2 field goals to Oregon on the road. So they're playing better. You could argue that they're playing better than Ohio State. But in terms of being elite, yes, I have no issue with anyone saying Indiana is elite. Now, if they've proven that over and over and over and over, no. They've proven it once. But that's the only opportunity that they've had to show that they are elite. And then who else is going to do to Illinois what they did? You just don't think that Ohio State didn't do it. You wouldn't think that Oregon or Alabama or whomever we think are the best teams in the country, Miami, would go play Illinois and beat them by 8 touchdowns. So it is impressive, no doubt. And I'll get to these calls in just a second. Let me clean up these super chats. Erica, thank you so much for being here. Do you think Illinois is legit? I have my doubts. Go Hawks and walk Wisconsin. I had to be careful with that one. Walk Wisconsin. Erica, as an Iowa fan, Now, don't take this as an insult, okay? Understand where I'm coming from on this, because I'm used to taking comments and questions from people that when they ask, is a team legit, they are coming at that from a national championship type perspective. Like, we consider these teams to be legit. Right now, we consider Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Miami to be legit. Maybe Alabama's legit. Maybe a few other teams are legit. Maybe Georgia's legit. We'll see, kind of thing, for a national championship bid. Maybe Texas Tech's legit. But that term legit, usually as it's presented to me in a question, deals with competing for a national championship. Coming from you, I'm just guessing, don't take this wrong, that as an Iowa fan, you're talking about, are they good? Are they like top 25 good? And if that's the question, I would say yes. But I would also say that I think there are elite teams, and there's probably 3 or 4. And then there's another tier that could jump up and join those teams at any time now. They could show in the next 3 or 4 weeks, whether that's Alabama or that's Georgia Tech or that's Oregon or that's Georgia or that's Missouri or Texas A&M or whomever. They're just below. They're where Penn State usually is. Notre Dame usually is, under the Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia tier. So they're fully capable, but they're just not consistent enough to be the elite. But they're right there. They're going to be in the playoffs, most likely. And then you've got this tier of a lot of Big 12 teams and the mid-tier of the Big 10, USC, Iowa, Illinois, Washington, bunch of teams in the SEC. Maybe Tennessee's there, but maybe they're a little higher. Maybe South Carolina, maybe Ole Miss. We'll see. Those teams that if we had a tournament and where teams would go between like 15 and 40, Louisville, all sorts of teams, Clemson, where would these teams rank? Yeah, Illinois is in that bucket. They are no way the 15th best team in the country. They were ranked in the top 10 a few weeks ago before they played Indiana, and they were ranked, I think, 12th in the preseason poll. They were not ranked that high in my poll, or my rankings, I should say. So they are nowhere near being at the top of that tier, but they're probably somewhere in the middle of that tier. Illinois is the 25th to 30th best team in the country. I don't know where they play Washington next. I'd have to look that up, but they've got Washington next, and I think they've got that game on the road. And I would expect Washington's going to win that game. Now, am I going to be surprised if Illinois wins the game? No. But yeah, so they've got a bye week. Then they go to Washington. That's going to be an interesting game. I saw a discussion, and I'll get to your calls in just a second. Saw a discussion. This is why I don't watch halftime shows. First of all, they're outdated. You don't need to watch halftime shows. There's so much information that's better out there, including here, that you don't need to watch halftime shows. But at halftime of the USC-Michigan game, I was going through this just because I was editing at the same time my previous instant analysis, so I just kind of left the halftime show on. And I've got a lot of respect for Joshua Perry. He's obviously was a tremendous college football player and an excellent analyst, but then they've got, I can't think of the young lady's name. She's an excellent writer, really good college football and college basketball writer. And then they have, is it Chris Sims? And they spent it seemed like a 45-minute discussion. They spent 5 minutes talking about the tiers in the Big Ten. And how they came up with this tier list, I have no idea, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense. There just wasn't any rhyme or reason to it. It was a mixture of the obvious and it's way too early to tell. So I don't know if they were basing this on just sheer opinion or that they were basing this on the results. So they had Washington in the third tier of the Big Ten. And I thought, well, Washington played a tough game against Ohio State, and otherwise they haven't lost to anyone. And they've got games coming up against Michigan and Illinois, and they were ranking Michigan higher than Washington, a tier higher than Washington. I just thought it was a bunch of dribble, and they were making no good points about anything. I got a couple doses of halftime shows today, and it reminded me why I don't watch them. To hear Booger McFarland summarize his thoughts on Penn State by saying, Penn State's having one of the most disappointing seasons in recent history. One of their most disappointing. He didn't mean one of the most disappointing, unless he stated it incorrectly, and that could be the case. I'll give him a pass if he did. If he meant one of the most disappointing in all of college football, yes. Okay. Then that's not him having a great handle on the English language. But anyway, I digress. We've got Trey stopping by. Trey, what's going on tonight?
I'm all right, Mr. Moore. How you doing today?
I am doing just fine.
I got a couple of notes before we hit the big ones.
Sure.
You know what? Shout out to Hawaii. I know nobody talks about them. They're 4-2, and I think they're beating Utah State. I have them on the computer right now. But I'm happy for them. And they haven't been this good since Colt Brennan?
Colt Brennan, 2007.
Hey, man, that was a good year for them. I'm happy for them. I don't know why people hate Hawaii, but I'm happy for them.
People hate Hawaii?
You'd be surprised on Reddit, Mr. Mark.
Really?
Yeah.
That's every time I get asked this question, and it seems like I get asked this question a lot, and I won't tell you why I get asked this question, but I get asked where I want to go on vacation. And I always throw out Hawaii. I've yet to go to Hawaii, and I would like to go there. That's my number one destination spot for my next vacation.
Me too. I love Hawaii. I think they're indigenous. I love the people. I love them. Good football program. Mr. Timmy Chang is building. Timmy Chang is building a program. It might took a while, but this year is a big mark for him. Point number 2 before the big ones. Penn State and James Franklin. Everybody's jumping the gun about firing him early. They give you 10-2, 10-2, 10-2, 10-2. But he's kind of like a Mark Richt of Georgia. They got tired of the 10-2s and 10-2s. He's kind of like that. Yep. But he had a one bad year in 2020. No one really counted that because of COVID. I think he was like 2-5.
Yeah, 4-5.
Yeah, 4-5, whatever. Pretty bad season. But it's getting bad. I ain't gonna lie. I think, after UCLA game, I said, okay, maybe they recover. Now they lost to Northwestern. That's not even a Pat Fitzgerald team. Now, back in the day, Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern is always dangerous. That's how Pat had his team.
Yep.
Now, this is new coach since he's gone. They're not as dangerous, and you lose to Northwestern. If James Franklin's wearing thin, I think he's losing his team. I think he's starting to lose that.
Seems like it.
That team's lost. I don't know if they're going to make a bowl game, Mark. If they were going to make a bowl game, those 2 wins would have got them in. Now I think they'd be like 4-8 now, or 5-7.
What they do the rest of the year is anybody's guess.
I'm appalled.
Well, at this point last week, I was kind of in the mystery portion of the Penn State spectrum of where they could possibly go from here. I thought, okay, is he going to be able to rally them and they'll pull their talent together and they'll get mad and they'll go out there and execute, or are they going to come off the rails? Because people were talking about this is going to be a layup for Ohio State playing Penn State. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. It's still Penn State and they're still loaded with talent. They just had this one bad game because, of course, we can respect what they did against Oregon. But now that they've done this twice, all bets are off.
I think Ohio State's going to blow them out.
Yeah, it appears so. Yes.
Drew Aller was not a good quarterback anyway. I don't care who says he's a good quarterback. He was not that good this year. He is not that good, and he just got worse, especially the UCLA game, and now it's Northwestern. He's injured. They can't get no more worse. It's like the floor. It could get really bad for them really, really quickly. And will they fire James Franklin after one bad year? Will they fire him?
You brought up a great name, Mark Richt.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Mark Richt was fired and Les Miles, and those situations weren't exactly the same, but they were similar in that this was my response when people either asked me, should they get fired? Or once they did get fired, was that fair? Because we'll just take Mark Richt.
Yep.
Mark Richt finished in the top 10 in the country 8 times in 15 years.
He was consistently in the bowl game.
Well, he was consistently much better than a bowl game. He was consistently finishing in the top 10 in the country. And like you say, he was just churning out 10-2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
The great majority of his seasons were double-digit win seasons. However, unfortunately for him, he didn't coach in the college football playoff era, or things could have been radically different. That team would have been in the 12-team playoff out of his 15 years, probably 10 or 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't have that opportunity. Even in a 14 playoff, he would have made it 3 or 4 times. So my thought, and the same thing goes here with Penn State and James Franklin. If the administration of Penn State and the powers that be, if they are satisfied, and I doubt it, if they are satisfied with winning 10 games a year, which of course they won't this year, but most of the time winning 10 games, competing for Big Ten championship, never winning it, getting to a college football playoff since it's been expanded, and getting their heads kicked in by Ohio State and whoever turns out to be elite in the Big Ten that year over and over and over, and just being one of the top 10 or 12 teams in the country. If they're satisfied with that, then James Franklin is a good coach for them. However, if they're paying him, which they are, one of the top salaries in the sport, despite him winning consistently, I think they have all justification to say, we're not paying you to coach the 10th best team in the country. We're coaching you to compete for, seriously compete for, and win championships. You've been here for 12 years now. You've not won hardly anything. He's got 1 Big Ten championship, but on the national level, you've won nothing, and it is time. And I think that that would be completely justified for them to fire him because they're paying him to be elite.
I will add before we go to a different topics about Florida, Auburn, Oklahoma, what I've seen, and I'll apologize for it. Let me add this. When he got hired 12 years ago, what he did at Vanderbilt was is incredible. 9-4, 9-4, back-to-back 9-win seasons. You would expect him to put him. If you can pull around a dang Vanderbilt team that's 9-4, imagine what you can do at Penn State. He has not lived up to that. What you expect him to do with a better recruiting, better players, better program, better things for football, and it seems like he can't get over that hump. And I think their patience are thin.
His teams have generally played to his recruiting ranking.
Yeah. But he can't play. He can't win. He can't beat Michigan and Ohio State. He just can't. I don't know what's with him.
Well, his record against Michigan might be better than most people think it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, he's 1 in a zillion against Ohio State. 2014 through 20, that's 11. He's 1 in 10 against Ohio State. If we pulled up Penn State's recruiting rankings, we would see 8, 12, 7, 13. We'd see them living between like 7 and 15. So that's about what they've played to.
Yeah. I want to apologize to Mark because I was wrong about all 3 games. Like, I'm a man. I did say on the last stream, I will apologize. I did.
Well, that's awesome that you're calling. You don't need to apologize for having
an
opinion.
Those were risky takes I was taking. I was hoping they work out, and they didn't.
Well, remind me, the one that stands out is the only one I remember was you saying there is absolutely no way that Texas can beat Oklahoma. And for the record, I know not a whole lot of people see my predictions because I've got them behind a paywall on Patreon. I did pick Texas to win that game.
I will explain why I didn't. I really thought, the quarterback come back, and when I seen in the first quarter, and then the second, and started to progress to the third and fourth, is he was not ready. He was not even close to ready. He came back, and I think it was a shot in his hand. I think it was like a camera shot, and he was holding his hand and put the ice back on his hand.
Yeah.
I kind of knew. I said, this ain't going to be good. He was forcing some throws he didn't make versus the first couple of games. And then where the hell was the Oklahoma defense? We were talking about crushing, containing Arch Manning and making him suffer. That was not even close. It was bad. I think Texas dominated from the first snap all the way to the end. I don't think.
No. You know better than that. You watched the game, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, Oklahoma was outgaining them like 100-50. Oklahoma was outplaying Texas for at least the first quarter into the second quarter. They were up like 6-0.
A different way. I was looking at it a different way, Mark.
Okay.
So if he was fully healthy, those field goals would have been touchdowns, and Texas would be climbing back. Something was missing in Oklahoma.
Sure.
Something was drastically missing, and I was kind of noticing like his hand was starting to bother him. And the defense was starting to bend, not break, and then the water gates really poured down on them, especially the turnovers. How many turnovers did he have? 2 interceptions? Was it 2?
He had 3.
He had 3? Well, there you go. I don't care who you are. When you have 3 interceptions, and as early as he came back from an injury, you can't win a JV game, a varsity game, college game, much less an NFL game when you throw 3 dang interceptions. And they all turn into scores, I believe, right? Because I was finished with it at the fourth quarter. I said, there's no way they're coming back.
Well, they did not all finish in scores because I do remember one of them in particular. Texas missed a field goal, like
they sure did.
Field goal after one. Mm-hmm. But the other ones, so not to nitpick here, but what I'm trying to point out, Trey, is that both can be true. Everything that you just said about Mateer and Oklahoma's passing game and their inability to move the ball, and obviously they took a calculated risk that he would be okay and his passing game would not be that severely affected by that hand. But I got to think that it was, because the interceptions that he threw, like, guys were not like jumping routes, making plays on the ball. Like, it looked like he lost control of the ball. Like, it wasn't even close.
Did.
But I was just making the point that even though Oklahoma should have shot out to a bigger lead and they were blowing scoring opportunities, they did, I don't want to say dominate, but they were outplaying Texas for most of the first half.
Mm-hmm. I will agree to that. But
that's all I was making.
It was that killer instinct like they had the first couple, games they had, playing all 60 minutes. They don't look like they were playing the first half, like they're going for that killer instinct. It was something missing with John Mater. John looked like he was off, and like we stated earlier, I think that was one of the biggest issues, and it really showed up later in the game. He couldn't keep up the way he was doing, Mark. He couldn't do it. The way he was playing could not keep up all the way to the fourth quarter, even tried. And for Auburn, before I get to Florida, Auburn, it looked like it's always like this versus Georgia. When you face Georgia, they're always a damn second half team. It doesn't matter what's going on. It seems like Georgia's missing in the first half, and the second half, bam, they make adjustments, and they're already going to win this game. Auburn, I think it wasn't that. I don't think it was going to happen this time, Mark. If you look at it, Auburn had everything going for them. I think they had it controlled until that fumble and that one turnover. One turnover really was I think it took the air out of the place.
Yes. I have a huge issue with this. So
go ahead.
I'm no Auburn fan. I could care less. But they got ripped off at Oklahoma.
Sure did.
They got completely ripped off. I hate to ever say, well, if the officials would have made the right calls, they would have won the game. We don't know what would have happened for sure, but it's pretty safe to say, based on the way the game turned out, that Auburn would have won that game if the officials would have done their job. And now we get this game, and I have no idea what they were looking at on that replay.
We had fucking 6. It was like 5 replays in one drive.
It wasn't the greatest shot in the world, but you didn't need it to be. He has the ball and it's over the it only, as explained many times, the front tip of the ball has to meet the very fringe
You got to break the
front of the
plane.
white. And it wasn't even a question. He had the ball into the end zone.
He broke the plane.
Yes,
and I'm not
most
sure
of the
why
ball was over the white line, and some of it was actually into the end zone. It wasn't even close. Now, how they couldn't rule that, I have no idea.
What were they thinking?
I don't know.
You know how the ACC got that replay thing now? You can see everything they see and all that kind of stuff.
And you can hear their conversation.
Maybe they need to do all that in all of college football because that was bad. That was probably this whole game. I'm not talking about that was just a tip of the iceberg in the beginning. It was already at the climax when it already happened. But the fucking 3 or 4 replays in one drive, Mark. What was that? Every time it was a controversial call, when they know it's not a controversial call, it was one on the sideline, and Hugh Freeze was about to go ape shit. I'm sorry, Mark, but that was like the basic what he was going to go through. He looked like he didn't want to be out there no more. You know what I mean? He's like, I would quit my job because I'm getting tired of getting screwed. Because no matter what Auburn's doing or Hugh Freeze doing, these referees got to take some accountability in the damn replay booth. I don't know what's going on, but they have 5 replays in one drive, and it extended the drive to 9 minutes almost. Almost took a whole damn quarter and, took the air out of the place. That is probably, I don't know. I'm not sure what we want to do about these replay officials and all these guys. It's getting really out of hand. It was bad this year, but now this game and everybody's looking at it. This is how bad it really got. This is the best game to show how bad officiating is really bad this year.
Well, are you talking about the officiating or are you talking about the replay review? Because
they were both terrible.
Review, but I don't remember there being other replay reviews that were horrible. They usually get it right once they take it to replay.
Well, they had it 3 or 4 times in one drive.
Well, I didn't. I had the game. I was watching 2 games at the same time, as I typically do, but I wasn't really locked in on Georgia and Auburn. So I don't know what other plays you're talking about. But that play, obviously, Auburn should have been up 17-0.
Yes.
And
I was watching Florida and Texas A&M at the same time. I was watching 2 games at the same time. But when Florida was on break, I looked at them. It was right after the fumble. And then they went all the way down to kick a field goal, I believe.
Yes.
And it was like 4 or 5 replays, and it took 20 minutes to get 2 minutes off the clock, 20 damn minutes to go down the field.
So, Trey, this is what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about how long the replays take. Were they getting the plays right?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're saying they kept reviewing plays and they were getting them wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, now in that one penalty, I'm not sure that extra shove on that penalty for the pass, not pass interference, but roughing the passer with that little extra shove. What you expect him to do? He was already in motion of tackling him.
Yeah, the whole roughing the passer.
I don't know what that was.
Nuts for years.
Oh, for goddamn sake, man! I swear, they are handicapping defense, Mark.
Yeah, well, we expect once we started to get into roughing the passer, which is a good rule if it's written correctly and called correctly, but expecting 250, 300-pound guys to stop on a dime and stop their motion, they almost have to anticipate that the quarterback's going to is about to throw the ball so that they stop. You cannot expect them. The original rule, especially in the NFL, was you give them a step and a half to the quarterback. And as long as they are within a step and a half, that's reasonable to hit the quarterback after he throws the ball, because you cannot stop your forward momentum if you're playing 100% full throttle.
You can't. There's no way. And I think they're really handicapping the defense, and they should be ashamed of themselves. They really screwed Auburn. And they did it twice now, and I'm not sure what the officiating. This might, let me be honest, it might cost Hugh Freeze his job.
Yeah.
They should be ashamed because it should not be left in the hands of officials screwing somebody out of a game and take that momentum. Momentum matters, and they really took the air out of the place. I think Auburn would have beat Georgia. And for Florida, well, it seems like Napier's on borrowed time now. I mean, I really thought he was going to come around. I said, maybe we figured this out. We beat Texas. We were going back and forth in the first quarter with Texas A&M. I'm like, wow, maybe we got stuff together. And once again, Billy Napier don't know how to play call. He's scared to coach, being the killer instinct, Mark. He don't have that killer instinct. He plays not to lose, and it has been costing us. He got the right players. He got that new freshman that played last week versus Texas. I think his name is Dallas, and he did great. We're moving the ball around. It's the play calling, and the defense didn't show up again. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with Billy. Should he get fired tomorrow? He should be fired by tomorrow. This is probably the worst start he had in his coaching career. It was 4-2, and 3-3, and I think 3-3, and now it's 2-4. He went from all right to like really bad. They got to do something. And if they lose to Mississippi State, I hope he's not here by Mississippi State. I even gave him a chance after beating Texas. I said, maybe we have this turned around. Maybe DJ Lagway wasn't right, and now he got it back, and he played good. DJ played really good. I think it was 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and I think he had like 37 pass attempts. Let me see it on the screen here, because I'm watching your screen. But I think that he had 37 pass attempts, Mark. But he's not running the ball.
All right, Trey. Get your point, and I do believe that Billy Napier's days are numbered.
You think? Do you think he'd be fired by this week, though?
Well,
I was thinking about the Georgia game because
they have a bye week.
Usually,
when's their next bye week?
Ooh, after Mississippi State.
Okay, I think he's going to get fired.
I think he gets fired this week, or if not, it'll probably be after the Georgia game, where usually everybody else gets fired.
All right, Trey. We appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you, Mark.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. I do think I lead the internet in allowing callers to rant forever. I think I do that. But here we go. We got Michael stopping by. Michael, how's it going today?
Not good, Mark.
Yeah, I saw the final score there from Minneapolis.
Not a good day for Purdue or for the Cubs.
Oh, you're a Cubs fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I'm trying to think. I really want to go ballistic on the way Purdue played in the fourth quarter against Minnesota. But I am going to keep my composure because I got other fish I got to fry, and it's not too good. But no, I'll give credit to Minnesota and stuff like that. But I got to tip my cap to IU, Kirsten.
Yeah, it's something else what he's pulling off.
Yep. And was it last week when I said that Penn State could end up losing 5 or 6 games before the end of the season?
That who said that? I said that?
I said that. Was it last week after they lost to UCLA?
I don't know. I with all due respect, I don't keep track of whatever anyone says on this show, except for myself.
I wonder if they're going to win another game the rest of the year.
I don't know.
Because it is falling off the race.
Does it really matter at this point? Does it matter if they go 4-8 or they go 6-6?
No. But no, and tip of the cap for finally breaking the ice of for Illinois, breaking the finding the combination, break the lock to score on Ohio State's red zone defense. Speaking of Ohio State right now, if it was December 4th right now, which is the day of the Big Ten championship game, how much of a chance would you give IU to shock the world and beat Ohio State?
Well, it shouldn't shock the world at this point. Okay. So nobody should be shocked if Indiana beats anybody in the country. They just went to Autzen Stadium and won by 10 points,
Yeah.
and they beat Illinois by 8 touchdowns. So nobody should be shocked by anything. I would think that Ohio State would be roughly the same level of a favorite that Oregon was today, and probably less than that because obviously it'd be a neutral site game. And
Would it be okay? Would you be a true neutral site game since it's an hour away from Bloomington?
well, yes, it's a neutral site game.
Even though they're playing in Indianapolis.
Yeah, they're at a neutral site. They're not playing on campus.
Okay.
And Ohio State is like 3 hours.
3 hours away. Yeah.
So they're an hour away. They're 3 hours away. I'm not going to nitpick here all night to figure out who's got home field advantage in Indianapolis at the Big Ten championship game, especially when Ohio State will have more fans there.
We'll see. But no, you're probably right. But no, I got to also tip my cap to Jerry.
Probably.
Tip my cap to Jerry Neuheisel, too. For getting the UCLA to play some good football.
I know, UCLA. I just thought that they were going to kind of revert back to form, and Michigan State would have gotten a bit of a wake-up call that, oh, we got to prepare for UCLA. They're really tough. They just beat Penn State. So for them to go out there and clock Michigan State 3 time zones away, and a lot of people have been making a big to-do about traveling 3 time zones, and UCLA goes out there and wins by 25 points. This is the new UCLA. Maybe we should start the season over and see if UCLA could win the Big Ten championship.
Well, true. Not bad. No, do you think how do you pronounce is it Mateer or Matter for
John Mateer?
You think he came back too early?
Well, this is the worst game that he's played in his college career, generally. So that would point to that probably being the case.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just wondering stuff like that. And I guess is 2.0 Florida State falling apart. And did you have Pitt winning that game today?
Pitt and Florida State. I had Pitt with the points, but I picked Florida State to win the game.
Okay. And last thing before I let you go, I asked Erica this because I'm not sure. When was the last time Wisconsin was shut out at Camp Randall? We couldn't figure it out and stuff.
Well, there's an easy way to find that out, but off the top of my head, wow, that is a great question. I doubt that they've been shut out since early in Barry Alvarez's career. I just can't think of a time. You think of all the obvious candidates to shut them out: Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. I don't remember any of those teams. I know Ohio State hasn't shut them out.
Yep.
Wow, that's a great question. I did not. There were other such better games and more important games than Iowa, Wisconsin that I didn't even give that. I didn't even watch one play of that game. I completely forgot that they were even playing, and then I saw the score, and I was like, my goodness, look at that. Yeah.
Oh, do you think USC's loss to Illinois was a fluke?
No. Why?
Because, yeah, I'm saying that. I'm saying that because USC. I don't think USC should have lost that game considering how bad 2 losses Illinois had when you lose combined 71 points, and was what USC did with Michigan today.
No, there's no reason to believe that Illinois is not a decent team.
Okay.
No, I don't think that's a fluke. Does that mean that Illinois is better than USC? Not necessarily. They were better on that day, and they were playing at home, but that doesn't mean that I'm saying that they're better. Just no, that was not a fluke.
Okay.
No.
I was just wondering stuff like that. All right, sir. I know you got other callers and stuff like that, and I think Dr. Greenshield is probably one to call in to talk Ohio State football and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for taking my call, and I will DM you later within the next couple of days, sir, because I really need to talk to somebody bad.
All right, sir.
All right,
we are here.
See you.
Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
All right. We got Minnesota Dave stopping by. Before that, the ruins of what my prediction record is today. I don't think it was too good. So let's see, against the spread. My goodness, I took Pitt in 10.5, so I got that one right. Michigan State to cover 7.5. Alabama, throw that one out. That was a push. Took Illinois in 15.5, where they lose by 18, so I missed that one. 1 and 2. I took Oklahoma State in 15.5. They lost by 22. I took Penn State to cover 21.5. I just thought, whatever I was thinking. Here's one of these half-point losses that irritate me. Georgia Tech beat Virginia Tech by 15. I took Virginia Tech in 14.5. Iowa State lost to Colorado. I don't know what happened there. I took Kansas State in the points. They won the game. I took Indiana in the points. NC State got drubbed, so I missed that by 4.5 points. I took Texas to win. Took Iowa to cover. I took Florida in the points, but they lost by 17. I think Kansas lost big. Took Michigan to beat USC. Took Purdue in the points, so I squeezed by on that one. And I did take Georgia, even though they had no right winning that game against Auburn, based on what I saw. I did get the cover with Georgia and LSU, and then this Arizona State team collapsed with Jeff Sims at quarterback tonight. Got Minnesota Dave stopping by with a Big Ten win against Purdue today.
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Good. How you doing?
Oh man, that's it was a close game, but god dang it, I'm really surprised, man. Our run blocking is awful this year.
Yeah.
Just awful. I mean, if we had a running game that we have had in the past,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
the way our quarterback has been playing,
Yeah.
gosh, these games should be nowhere close.
Yeah, what's happened there? It's weird to see. This has happened to both Minnesota and Rutgers, where they've turned into these pass-happy teams. Look at those Minnesota numbers. We're talking about one of the best rushing teams in college football since PJ Fleck took over. Even you remember the famous season where you went through 4 or 5 running backs. You got like 4 dudes hurt, and even the 5th guy was running for 150 yards a week.
What was it? I think it was Bucky or Bucko or Bucky, and then you had Iverson. They both went to the pros.
Sure.
I know Bucko did.
Look at this. Darius Taylor, 14 carries for 32 yards, and he's a good back. So this is all offensive line related, I would assume.
Oh yeah, he had more yards catching the ball today. He had 67 yards catching.
Yeah.
You know, just that's just the big worry with me with Minnesota is their O-line was a question mark going into the season, and now it seems like it's just it's just not creating holes. It's just not.
So I'm looking at I did not see one play of this game. I will go back and watch the highlights. I love those extended highlights packages, like 15 minutes long. But I'm seeing where Purdue racked up 456 yards of total offense, and Minnesota had 262.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you got some turnovers.
They got 3 turnovers, and the key one was Corey Parrish after we scored the tying touchdown, he intercepts the ball and scores a pick 6.
Okay.
And that's we got the lead, and they drove all the way to like the 7-yard line, got the 4th down and 7, and we stopped them. So that pretty much ended the game.
Okay. No wonder my buddy Michael's all upset. He had a 456 to 262 edge in offense. You usually win those games.
Yeah, not only that, they had all the time of possession. They played Minnesota ball better than Minnesota has. And they still lost the game. It wasn't for the turnovers, they would have lost, and Minnesota would have lost this game.
So I'm trying to think. Minnesota lost this non-conference game to Cal. Then they lost their first Big Ten game, right? I'm losing track.
Yeah,
of who
they lost to
to.
Ohio State last week.
Ohio State, obviously. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was excited about in that game is we scored first.
Okay, so they're 4-2, and they got 1 loss in the Big Ten.
and they got the big game against Nebraska, which will probably be the whole entire season for both the Gophers and Nebraska.
Yeah. So is that next week?
That's next week on
Oh,
a Friday.
nice.
It's a Friday night game.
Oh, Friday night game. Oh, man, I'm going to be stoked for that one. Minnesota, Nebraska on a Friday night. I like that.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a fun game. I'm really hoping that the Gophers pull off the big win, but I'm like I said, I'm concerned. I mean, Nebraska hasn't looked like too threatening, but they look a lot better than they were last 2 years, I would say. Definitely better than last year.
All right. We got a lot of contingent in the chat saying Nebraska's going to win that game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the chat will say Nebraska. This is the way that Minnesota has played. So, yeah, that's the big thing. But man, this whole week was just such a thrilling week of a lot of thrilling games. Saw that Navy went for 2, got it to end up beating Temple at the end. That was a good one. But I think what everyone's talking about is what the heck is wrong with Penn State?
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's
Northwestern.
Northwestern beats you at home. You lose to Northwestern at home, which was probably a homecoming game for them too.
But yeah, probably. And the other crazy thing factored in here is that, okay, we know that Penn State's coming off the rails. They lost to who we thought were the 2 worst teams in the conference, but then UCLA goes out to Michigan State and wins by 25 points.
I was going to talk to you about UCLA. It's been like last year they kind of did the same thing. They get a big win and then they start getting just enough wins to be maybe close to bowl eligible. I think they were 8-4 last year. 4-8. I'm sorry, dyslexia. Turn that around.
Minnesota 5-7.
What?
I'm sorry, UCLA 5-7.
They were 5-7 last year. Okay. I thought they were 8-4. Okay. So yeah, they pulled off a couple big wins here and there, and that's just the thing with them. They're kind of like the opposite of Maryland. Maryland's always has these great starts, and then they just simmer out at the end. UCLA has horrible starts, and then finally figures out how to win.
Well, David, not to put you in your place here, I totally get the thing on Maryland. Maryland, that absolutely, that's their history. That is their recent history. We're talking like for 10 years now. Yes. Part of that is because they usually get soft games to start their Big Ten schedule. Plus, they don't schedule anyone many years in the non-conference, so they build up like a 4-0, 5-0 start. Absolutely. But UCLA just did that one time. I don't believe that we would see that over and over and over and over with UCLA.
No, I don't see it happening with you all the time. But my gosh, it's just been weird the last couple of years, like the last 2 years,
Yep.
that they have off the horrible starts and then they end up winning. It took the Iowa game last year to have them start going on a roll. So I really don't know. I mean, UCLA is like, I thought they would get spanked by Michigan State. But man, I really don't know what's going on over in East Lansing either. So
I just pulled up Friday night's schedule, not to get ahead of ourselves, but yeah, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Louisville, Miami.
both 2 huge games.
Yeah, they really are.
I mean, Louisville, if they want to make the playoffs and have any shot, that has to be a huge upset for them. And with Minnesota and Nebraska, I think especially with Nebraska, they can't afford any more losses either. I mean, I don't think Minnesota's going to, like I said, in the beginning of the season, I thought there'd be an 8-4 team. But if Minnesota starts improving on defense, improving if they're off O-line, getting those gaps opened up for their running backs, they would be a lot better off. Hopefully they figure that out. But Drake Lindsay has been playing out of his mind, so.
Yeah, they got to do something to mount a running game because they can't make it through the season through a Big Ten schedule without being able to run the ball for more than 30 yards.
Yeah, you gotta every year you at least should have over 100 yards rushing every game in the Big Ten to be competitive.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but you know what, Mark? I'll talk to you later about this, but this week was very, very fun to watch football. This week was very fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of interesting results for sure. A lot of big results.
So did you watch the biggest? Well, not the biggest. I don't consider it the biggest MAC rivalry, but did you watch Toledo and Bowling Green play?
What do you think?
Probably not.
Okay. Yes. It would be like my 25th choice for that time window. I pick 2 games every time window, and they're almost always Big Ten and SEC games, and sometimes ACC and Big 12 games. No, I'm not watching any MAC football. I got nothing against the MAC, but they're just not on my radar.
Yeah, I can understand. I totally can understand. I watched it because it was I know the history of the game, and I watched it because I watch MAC football on occasion. Like I said, my parents went to Central Michigan, so me paying attention to the MAC is next to paying attention to the Big Ten.
Well,
They're
I
very
went to Kent
distant.
State.
They're a very,
I went
very
to Kent
distant
State, and
second.
my brother went to Akron. There you
Oh,
go.
oh wow.
And a lot of my family, not my family, a lot of my extended family, a lot of my ex-wife's uh, contingent, they went to OU.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my family members are basically Michigan MAC schools. Almost everyone went to either Central, Western, or Eastern.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna let you go, and Skyuma and go Gophers. Row the boat.
All right, Dave. Appreciate it.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye bye.
Minnesota Dave chiming in. And, this looks like a typical Minnesota season. They're 4-2 right now. I would put money down that they're going to go 7-5. They're going to go 7-5, and they'll be relegated to some meh bowl game. And you know what? They'll win because they win every bowl game, and they'll go 8-5. That's pretty much what PJ Fleck does just about every year. Goes 8-5, wins a bowl game, goes 8-5. And that's appears to be what they're headed toward this year. But man, they got to be able to run the ball. Minnie's got to be happy tonight. Her Huskers came back from a couple scores down in the fourth quarter to win 34-31. I did not see any of that game. I was watching whatever was preceding that. I'm trying to think. That game was a 3:30/4 p.m. game, I believe, Eastern time. And so what I do is I watch 2 games, and then when the games are over, I jump up here to do my instant analysis, knock out those videos. So I come downstairs and I see that, no, I know what it was. I was surfing around looking for some decent games because whatever games got out of hand. And I came across Nebraska, Maryland, but it was just over, and I was curious who won the game. And they were in the post game, and Matt Rule was on the field, all elated and excited about Nebraska coming back to win. So Nebraska winning a 1-score game in the Big Ten is big news. And for the second straight week, Maryland blew a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter. So for our friends in Nebraska, Minnie and others, Nebraska is now, I believe, 6-1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 5-1. They go to Minnesota Friday night. Northwestern, So Nebraska is playing better football than Minnesota. Slightly. They are playing better football. These two teams, they could play 100 times and split them 50-50. I can't find much separation between Minnesota and Nebraska. So whoever is fired up and ready to play, whichever coaching staff has a better game plan, whoever basically executes and doesn't turn the ball over is going to win this game. Neither one of these teams is going to dominate the other. So that's a toss-up. And then Northwestern should be a win at home. So Nebraska has a real shot of being 7-1 when they welcome USC on November 1st. And now that trip to Happy Valley isn't so daunting. And they've got Iowa at home. I don't think Nebraska is an extremely good football team. I think they're decent. I think they're fine. I think that based on what I've seen thus far, based on what I know, that certainly Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana are better. After that, I would love to see them play USC, and we'll see that in a couple of weeks. We're going to see Minnesota Friday night. I just think there's a collection of teams in the Big Ten, in the middle of the Big Ten, that are difficult to separate. Nebraska, Minnesota, Washington. Based on what we saw tonight, it appears as though USC might be at the very top of that second-tier list. Michigan's a better team than Nebraska, but not by a ton. So Nebraska has a real chance to have a big season. They just do. The schedule lines up for them, and now the toughest team on the schedule is 3-3, and they lost their quarterback for the season, and they seem to have no motivation. And I'm talking about, of course, Penn State. That was the toughest team on Nebraska's schedule. Interesting. So speaking of which, you join Minnie and Doreen. They are the ladies of college football, and I wish I had a banner to show you, but the ladies of college football get together with you each and every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Minnie and Doreen talk college football with them. MCAT says, Mark, can you please talk about Hawaii college football? And if I screw up his name, pardon me, I've never heard it pronounced. Kansai Matsuzawa, their kicker who's on a roll. I'm aware of him. I know about him. Yes. What do you want me to say about Hawaii? Let's go to their box score. I saw them play probably half the game against Stanford in week 0. And that's what I know about Hawaii right now. And their quarterback's pretty good. Let's check out the Hawaii box score. Of course, they're playing right now. And our buddy MCATS is always invested in Hawaii football. So let's see what we got here. San Diego State's going to win 44-10. All right. We're nearing halftime. My screen will cooperate. The Aggies of Utah State lead Hawaii 20-17, and it appears as though we're going to reach halftime, although Hawaii does have the ball with 40 seconds left, and they're near midfield. They're actually at the Utah State 40, so they could at least tie the game going into halftime, if not take the lead. Let's do a little deep dive on Hawaii football. 4-2, 1-1 in the Mountain West. There's the aforementioned win against Stanford. They got drubbed by Arizona, which is not too impressive. Arizona's a decent football team. They lost to Fresno State by 2. They beat Air Force last week. All right. MCATS, what else do you want me to say about this? I couldn't think of the quarterback's name, but now that I see his name, I again do remember watching him play that first week 0 game. DeMarcus DeMarcus Davis. I'm aware of his recruitment. It's getting way too late to be talking at this point. I've been up for way too long. Anyway, Luke Weaver, I'm aware of him. I'm actually more aware of the backup quarterbacks, but Micah Elahado, 66%, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks. Nothing special there. Rushing, Landon Sims. Again, there is a reading issue with me right now. 4.1 per carry. Cam Barfield, 4.2 per carry. So their rush game is apparently pretty bad. If your two best running backs are running for barely 4 yards per carry in college football, that's an atrocious figure. Okay, so I'm not sold on the offense thus far. Pofele Ashlock at wide receiver, averaging less than 10 yards per catch. Jackson Harris, he's more the big play guy, 74-yard reception, 3 touchdowns. Okay, great. There's the fine kicker, 16 of 16, 7 of 7 from 30 to 39 yards. He has hit one past 50 yards. And no, he is not winning the Heisman Trophy. Is anybody doing anything on defense? We've got Jackie Johnson with 4.5 sacks. And what else? We collectively have all of like 4 interceptions on the team. So this is like the 80th best team in the country. This is what we're looking at. We're basically considering that we've got 70 teams in the Power 5, Power 4, and all of them are better than Hawaii, except Stanford's a toss-up. Obviously, they played and Hawaii won, but that game was at home. So Stanford's a toss-up. Stanford's probably the worst team. Now that UCLA has shown us something, Stanford's the worst team in the power conferences. Who else would be in running for that? Pretty much Stanford. Stanford's the worst. They lost again tonight to SMU by 24 points. So Stanford's horrible. And so Hawaii might be better than Stanford. And I can't think of anybody else that they would be better than in the power conferences. If we compare them against the American Conference, there's no way that 2/3 of that conference at least is better than they are. And then the Mountain West is probably a 50-50 split. So they are about the 85th to 90th best team in the country. So you want me to wax poetic on Hawaii football? I did my best. There you go. I learned more about Hawaii in the last 3 minutes than they scored a touchdown. Good for them. Stanford did beat Boston College. Thank you for that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I forget about Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's the worst team. Yeah, I would say Oklahoma State. It would be quite the game between Oklahoma State and Stanford. Of course, they did play in the 2011 Fiesta Bowl when they were in much different places. So we've got a vote for Boston College. We also have Oklahoma State. I would say Oklahoma State's the worst team in the power conference structure. All right. And there was a day and a time for decades in which I knew about all these teams at all times. But I now am devoting myself to work in other fields during the day. Therefore, I'm not able to keep up on college football and be the encyclopedia that you folks would like me to be and that I have been in the past. So that's just not happening now. So we kind of learn together. North Carolina, good call there. Yeah, the worst teams. Yeah, I did kind of brush through that. Forgot about North Carolina. I don't believe they played today. They lost to Clemson last week by whatever it was, 28 points. They're losing to everybody by 20 or 25, 30 points. Wisconsin, of course, they've come apart. Hawaii's a top 10 team in the Mountain West. Yes, they are. Yeah, Wisconsin's awful. Oklahoma State, North Carolina, Stanford. Yeah, this Wisconsin situation, boy, I can only imagine what Camp Randall Stadium was like tonight with them getting just blown out of the building 37-0. It's kind of hard to imagine Iowa scoring 37 points against anybody. So that has really, really come off the rails there. So be looking out for Luke Fickell to get fired, Billy Napier to get fired. Those two guys should be next. All right, folks. Yes, Luke Fickell is toast. He is toast. And the one defense I will make for Luke Fickell is that it would have been nice if he would have at least had the chance of having one season in which a quarterback would stay healthy. He has not had a season with a starting quarterback stay healthy. And now he's working on a third-string quarterback who obviously could not handle the Iowa defense tonight. Let's look at that box score. I can only imagine what this looked like. You can get the call-in line link that's posted in the description section of the video. Also, the most important thing I will say tonight, and if you can guess what the most important thing I will say tonight, I will give you a gold star and a shout out. MCATs, Mark, I eating dinner right now. Slap so hard. Mark, the reason Elahado doesn't have many passing yards is because he missed 2 games. Yeah, but that 6-4 TD to pick ratio is not the best. Is Penn State the biggest preseason overhyped, overranked team in history? Probably. Although overhyped, yes. Fong Wei, as soon as you put in overhyped, yes. But let's also understand that just one season ago, Florida State was a top 10 ranked team in the preseason, and they finished 2-10. And regardless of how bad Penn State might be this season, they pretty much played better football than Florida State did all of last year. All right, let's look at Wisconsin's offensive stats from this game. They have to just be atrocious. Hunter Simmons, who played against Michigan last week, and this is not shedding great light on Michigan's performance because Wisconsin actually hung in the game against Michigan. That was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. Hunter Simmons, 8 of 21 for 82 yards and 2 picks. Dylan Jones, 16 carries, 69 yards. You know, they ran it okay, especially considering it's Iowa. But yeah, that's pretty bad. Pretty bad. No sacks for the Wisconsin defense. This is just think about the move. Think about the move that the Wisconsin administration took. What was that? That would have been in the Luke Fickell has been the head coach 2023, 24, 25. So in the offseason following the 2022 season, actually before that, so they fired Paul Chryst, who was 3-2, I do believe. Paul Chryst was 3-2 after racking up numerous Big Ten championship game appearances. Paul Chryst's first year there, I believe, was 2015. And they went to the Big Ten championship in 2016, 2017, went to the Rose Bowl in 2019. And in Paul Chryst's final season in 2021, they went 9-4. Paul Chryst, off the top of my head, I might be slightly off, was 68-27 at Wisconsin. 68-27. And I get why they moved on. I get it. If you look at that the program had plateaued, that the recruiting was down, that there were 4 hotshot teams headed into the Big Ten from the West Coast, and that Luke Fickell was on the market and to be taken. I get why Wisconsin made the move that they did, but they made a bad move. I didn't think it was a bad move, so I can only be so critical because I might have made the same move. But Paul Chryst was getting the job done by Wisconsin standards. So it's just kind of strange to think this guy was going 10-2, 9-3 every year and gets fired. We got Kai on the line. Kai, what's going on tonight?
Hey, Mark, what's up?
Not too much. What's the good word?
All right, so I have a couple of things I would like to say. My first thing I would like to say is I think, to me, it's clear that Ohio State's the best team in the country because that defense has been lights out all season, and Jeremiah Smith hasn't really taken over yet, and they're still beating up these teams. And the second thing I would like to say is I think Indiana are a national championship contender this season. And the third thing is Hawaii's passing attack has been spectacular tonight. Their quarterback, he has 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
And their quarterback was out for 2 games, which is why his stats aren't that great.
Yeah, so I saw that comment, and that obviously affects his passing yardage total. But in terms of a 6-4 TD to pick ratio, that's what I was hitting on there.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what we got here. So it's 24-20 at halftime, and we'll go to the box score. We've got our guy, Micah Alejandro, with 3 touchdowns and 1 pick. He's throwing for 284 at halftime. Wow.
Yeah, we can only throw the ball. Like, there's been no run game at all.
Yeah, I see that. This season and tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Why is there a contingent of you that are so invested in Hawaii football?
I think that I guess you have like a Hawaii audience now. I guess people from
nice.
The islands are just
Love
finding
it.
about you.
Okay. Because I'm on late. Sure.
Yeah.
So let's see. Over there, it's like if it's 2 a.m.
Like
Eastern,
8 o'clock.
I think 5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, because all the
85.
games like end, and then you're one of the last things that's on. That's why.
All right. Very nice. Well, it is also nice that I got thrown some money tonight because I wasn't going to be on for long because I got to admit, man, my head was pounding when I started. So I was looking for 60 minutes and out the door. But you guys have made it worthwhile. So I'm feeling much better. But that's an interesting take that you made there about the Hawaii folks finding us.
Yep.
That's funny. All right. Maybe I should start doing some Hawaii videos.
Yeah.
All right.
right.
I'll check out the extended highlights on this game tonight. That should be a barn burner here. 24-20 at halftime.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate you being here, man. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. The voice of college football. We got Luke on the line. Luke.
Hey,
what's
Mark.
up?
I want to talk about Hawaii. You know, as one of the previous callers talking about one of the Hawaii community finding your show. As someone a part of the Hawaii community watching your show, I want to look at based off their upcoming schedule, or their remaining schedule in the season.
Yes.
How many games do you think they need to win, with obviously other teams losing? Because right now, there's 5 or 6 teams in the Mountain West that have one loss have at least one loss, and then 2 or 3 teams that have no losses. But do you think that Hawaii has a shot at the Mountain West title?
Okay. So you've probably watched me enough here, Luke, to know that I'm transparent and I'm not trying to bluff anybody. So my knowledge of Hawaii football, as you could just see as I was just going through, the only 2 players I knew before I just looked at the box score was the quarterback and the kicker. So I don't have any great grasp on this. I'm a power conference guy. I can only watch so much football.
Right.
So I certainly have nothing against the Mountain West. I think the Mountain West has been the premier group of 5 league throughout the years, not right this second, but through the years. So I love the teams and I love the vibe in the Mountain West. Unfortunately, it's changing going forward. And then during bowl play, I will watch all these teams play. I will watch all the bowl games. So what we've got currently is, of course, Hawaii's 1-1 in the conference. So you got to think that the winner of the conference is, to get to the conference championship game, you got to be at least 6-2. So they could probably only lose one other game, and they got to pull this game out. San Diego State's playing really well right now, and UNLV is going to be a bear on the road. That's a FS1 game late night on the 21st. Okay. So let's look at the standings here. Again, this UNLV game is going to be huge if they get that far, and San Diego State's playing really well.
Right, because they play them the week before, so that San Diego State Hawaii game could potentially, if Hawaii pulls it out, possibly dictate that could swing the Mountain West a lot. And then my other thing is, how many more games of Penn State losing to bad teams before James Franklin gets fired?
Well, it's all about money at this point. It's
Right.
all about money. And you've probably heard the figure, $54 million, but
Right.
It's not like they got to cough up $54 million tomorrow. They've got to make payouts that total about $9 million per year. So I think they can handle that. I think there's most likely some kind of battle going on amongst the administration. It depends on the school involved of whether like 3 people are making this decision or 13 people are making this decision. And obviously, the more people you have involved, the more dissenting opinions, because I got to think that some of them aren't necessarily just hell bent on, we have to win national championships here. They're fine with, our football program goes to bowl games, it goes to playoffs, and he wins, and we'd have to pay him $54 million. Really? And we get all this money from CBS, NBC, and Fox every year. What's wrong with that? A lot of non-football type people making these decisions, thinking that what's going on, they don't like to lose football games, but it's fine. We're not coughing up $54 million. We could do a lot more different things with that $54 million. So I got to think it's a money fight right now in terms of how important is the football success versus coughing up $54 million.
Right. And then last thing before I get off, that was it. I'm also a Colorado fan, but I was shocked that we beat Iowa State today.
I was too.
That, because we've looked terrible this year.
Yes.
I mean, against Houston, I don't know why we started the 3rd string quarterback. But then the biggest thing that ticks me off every game for Boulder is that I don't know if Deion Sanders thinks that timeouts can be taken to the next game or not. But against BYU and TCU both, we ended the game with 2 timeouts. Against BYU, we should have used timeouts on that last drive because we had a shot to get down the field and kick a field goal. But the clock management has been terrible, and Pat Shurmur's offense just does not work with the scheme that we have. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say. But
I was watching the end of the 2 games that you mentioned with leaving the timeouts on the table. And then I went and watched Deion Sanders' news conference after, I think it was the BYU game. I forget which one it was. It was one of the 2. And obviously he didn't want to answer the question or give any kind of reasonable explanation of why you would not call a timeout with 30 seconds left in the game when you just threw a ill-fated screen pass and you wasted 30 seconds getting to the ball and all of that. Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, the clock management has been so horrendous. It just really just pains me to watch all the games. But that's all I wanted to talk about. But have a good night. I know it's probably late there because it's 8
2
o'clock.
2 a.m. 2:04.
Whoa, that's real late. But
Luke, how long you been watching us here?
Probably for 3 weeks, a month.
Oh, 3 weeks or a month. That's it. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I've seen your name quite a bit pop up. So,
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah. All right. Go Bows.
Thanks, Luke. This is funny. We got a Hawaii contingent. Maybe I'll just, maybe we'll start a Hawaii Voice of College Football channel. And I do apologize to you guys because some of you who've been watching, let's say Luke, for only 3 or 4 weeks, you're not going to get this, but maybe some of you have noticed what we are able to put into this channel is not anywhere close to what it used to be. It's not anywhere close to the quality or quantity of content because from the time I left ESPN in late 2020 up until about 6 months ago, man, I was going full throttle all the time, pouring my life into the Voice of College Football and producing content. And if you went back like 2 or 3 years, especially, you'd see videos every day, multiple times a day, breaking all this stuff down. And basically all we do is live shows now because I have had to devote my time into other things that make money. So, yeah, we do not operate at the level we would like to. So we got Kano on the line. Kano, what's going on?
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. First of all, I just want to send my condolences to Kansas. I'm very sad that they lost today. You probably did not watch the game, but they kind of kept it close. I believe after the second half, the score was 17-21, and they were kind of keeping the game close, but like their offense kind of got stifled in the second half, and obviously Texas Tech, their starting quarterback went down in the second quarter, and even with their backup, they were still able to come back and blow them out and win pretty handily. So obviously Texas Tech is pretty much the class of the Big 12, and unfortunately my Jalen Daniels hype for Heisman, I doubt that's going to come true, sadly.
Well, you did your best to keep him in the running, and it's just not going to work out this year for Jalen. Now, is he most likely going to declare for the NFL draft?
I'd have to assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt he'll get drafted. If not, maybe in the later rounds, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I was trusting that Kansas was going to keep that a little bit closer. I took the Jayhawks in the 14.5.
I thought they had a decent chance, especially considering last year, like at the end of the season, all we saw was Kansas upsetting these ranked Big 12 teams. They beat Colorado. I'm pretty sure they may have beaten Texas Tech last year, but they were just playing spoiler all of last season, upsetting these teams. And this year, I mean, I've seen some improvement for sure from them. I mean, they've improved a lot since the past couple of years. They're going in the right direction for sure. But, I mean, I don't think they're contenders in the Big 12 yet, at least not for now.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that one. The only Kansas football I saw this year was I watched probably half the Missouri game, and then I was curious. It was actually like a week or 2 weeks later, but I was curious to go back and look at the Cincinnati game. So I went back and watched, the 15 to 18 minutes highlight package against Cincinnati. I was curious to see how that unfolded.
Yeah, and that game, it was a barn burner. It was a really high scoring game. Jalen Daniels threw for like 400 yards, and Cincinnati had that last second touchdown. And it was a close game. I think if Kansas would have won that game, it would have shifted their season in a better direction. But I mean, right now it's kind of, I don't know. They'll be lucky to make a bowl game. I haven't seen the rest of their schedule, obviously, but I don't know. It's not looking good for them. And then also, I just want to mention, shout out to Hawaii. They're having a pretty good year, and they're a really exciting team to watch. They got the best kicker in the country, Mike Alejado. He's had a pretty good season, and Timmy Chang, he's leading the team. He's created a good culture in Hawaii. I don't know the score of that game right now, but I know at halftime it was 24-20. They're winning that game, so shout out to Hawaii. They're having a good season so far.
Your remaining Kansas schedule is Kansas State in 2 weeks. After a bye, and then it's Oklahoma State at Arizona, another bye, and then finishing at Iowa State and Utah.
Yeah, Iowa State and Utah, those are probably tougher games. I doubt they'll win those, but Kansas State maybe Arizona, they're all right, but maybe I could see maybe 6 or 7 wins out of Kansas, but I don't know. I might be stretching it. I'm not sure.
All right, man. Anything else?
No, that's it. Hopefully Hawaii wins tonight. That'll be good. But my Buckeyes are doing good. Hawaii's also doing good, so happy about that.
All right, man. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Mark.
Did I hear that correct? We have a quasi Ohio State and Hawaii fan all wrapped up in one. All right. Reminding you that vocfb.com is the place to go for 2 of your favorite brands, which means the voice of college football and your favorite team. So look at this. So you can order just voice of college football merch that looks like that. Those are the hats. Those are the tees and the polos. And so you've got a few choices there if you just want to rep the voice of college football. But then you got all these teams. Now, my apologies, we do not have Hawaii. Maybe after tonight's surge of Hawaii calls and comments, we will need to look into that. But let's take, Miami, for example. Look at that. Miami hats. We got 2 different kinds of hats. With a lot of the teams, we've got 3 different types of hats. We've got the camo, the colored hat, and the white one. We got the tees and the jacket and the polos, and then we got the koozies, the mugs, and the tumblers as well. So check it out at vocfb.com, and you can look up your favorite team. What should I get some? I should get some Hawaii gear. Do you have Hawaii gear? I've got gear of one team, and I don't even think I've purchased any gear from that team for 7 or 8 years. Hawaii. I got you, Fongwei. Hawaii. My favorite artist of all time did a lot of good work in Hawaii. Hawaii was very good to him. He recorded and sold a lot of albums, a lot of singles, a lot of movies, a lot of content coming from Hawaii. Yeah, we should go with the Hawaii gear. Okay. We do appreciate everyone being here at the Voice of College Football, and maybe I'll go watch the rest of the Hawaii game. We've got a score of, unless I need to refresh the page, I would think that they've gone to the third quarter at this point. No, they're still at halftime. We've got Hawaii on top of Utah State 24-20. The Bows are looking to go to 5-2 overall and 2-1 in the conference. So this is obviously a pivotal game. You're absolutely right, Luke. Right now, I could do a show from the beach, but it would not be in Hawaii. Jackson, thanks for being here. Jackson laying down the merch link. So again, pick out your favorite team. Unless it's Hawaii, I think we probably have everybody else in the chat covered, I do believe. And so I think I mentioned this earlier in the chat when Hawaii was brought up, that yeah, when I get asked where I want to go on my next vacation, I always bring up Hawaii. I've never been there, would love to go there sometime. And so we've got all sorts of good people stepping up for the Bows as they march on to the third quarter. So good luck. Yes, good luck. Yes, Kai, I do know that if we had a Hawaii host that we would start the channel. We could do that. All right, folks, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We've been on for a strong 2 hours and 18 minutes. And again, a lot of you are just joining us or have in the last, 3 or 4 weeks, like Luke expressed. And you probably can't imagine that I used to do shows that lasted 4 and 5 hours long, but I just don't have it in me any longer. We were at 2:14 a.m. That used to be nothing in the past. That used to be nothing. I'd stay on till 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night after a college football day. I do need to work on the top 25 that actually makes sense. I'll produce that and get that out sometime on Sunday. The top 25 that actually makes sense. All right, Michael, good to see you as well. Now that I've seen the box score, Michael, I realize how much you have to be in pain over this Purdue effort tonight after outgaining Minnesota by 200 yards. All right, it should be a great week of college football. Again, we got 2 decent games on Friday to look forward to with Louisville, Miami, and also Nebraska, Minnesota. And we will see you on Monday night. Look out for the ladies of college football Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And 9 p.m. Eastern time, that would be 3 p.m. Hawaii time. And we'll see you then.